Good evening. It is Tuesday, October 24th, 2017. My name is Jacob,
And I'm Danielle.
and we are the Proteus Podcast, ideas in all shapes and forms.
Why, hello there, Jake.
Why, hello there, Danny.
I feel like we just saw each other.
Why, from the dulcet tones of your voice, I can assume you made it home safely.
I did. I made it home safe. We had a good time, I think.
Adventures!
You know,
Traveling.
and I know that there were people among our group that seemed slightly regretful of our decision to once again partake in the family style Salt Lick experience.
I regret nothing.
But for me, that's one of the best things ever.
I regret nothing. Although they did point out that, we ordering by the pound might work out just as well for us in the future.
I guess. We did 3 plates.
Three
4 plates?
3
4
plates?
platters?
I can't remember.
It was good.
There's a goodly amount of carne con carne.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Salt Lick is a barbecue place in Austin, Texas.
And weirdly enough, there's a branch located in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. Don't ask me, I've never been.
Yeah, there's also one in the Austin airport.
Weird.
But it's not as good. I've tried it. But anyway, they do family style, all you can eat meats. And all the fixins.
And it is glorious. Pork ribs that fall right off the bone.
Nom 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 nom.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Highly recommend.
So we did that, and oh, by the way, I'm still in the world of construction.
Oh, good. My neighbors have guests, so there may be screen door sounds.
Oh, yay, construction and screen door sounds. That sounds like a win-win.
Sounds like.
So, aside from eating massive quantities of carne con carne, we played a lot of board games.
Board games. Games for those who are bored. That's not what that means.
No, I don't think so.
It could be. I'm pretty sure the board game was invented for bored people.
No.
The etymology of the word probably is totally different, but
yeah, completely, utterly different.
Yeah, because they're on a little board, but at the same time.
Sorry, you hurt my head.
That's what I do.
So anyway, we played a lot of board games. And Jake, what are your feels about board games in general?
Well,
do you play them any other time of the year?
I tend not to, actually, because the people I have available to play board games with tend to be my parents. And they're not as into the complicated board games that we like to play.
Oh?
Well, like, we play things like Catan or that one with the other one with the tiles in the land that I've suddenly forgotten the name of. Carcassonne. Or, things with fairly complex rule sets.
Okay.
And that's just not their deal, to be honest with you.
Are they more along the lines of the game of life?
No, everyone hates that game, and for good reason. But, just not quite as complex of games. Stuff that's rated like, 7 to adult.
Okay.
And so, like, and all of those games are, plenty of them are fun. But, I don't know, some of them don't challenge me in an interesting way or something. I just don't enjoy them as much. I like I think I like things with a little more depth to them at this point. Probably because I've played video games and they have, a lot of complexity to them. So I expect, I like games that have a little more, planning and thinking.
Okay. So you actually enjoy the Catan?
Yeah, I thought that was a lot of fun, Didn't necessarily win, but it was still, fun because it's, you kind of got to think ahead, plan. It's got that planning ahead aspect without all the difficulty of holding it all in your head the way chess does.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I have to hold everything in my head with Catan. I feel like I have to have like 3 plans and then like 4 extra backup plans just in case.
Yeah, it's probably why you won.
I won twice in a row.
We played twice.
I know, but I won Catan twice in a row against the same people, and none of the people playing, except for maybe Ryan and Stephanie, are slouch. Nah, Stephanie, Kimberly. Gosh darn it!
Boy,
Wham, wham, wham. So
that's twice now.
yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit honest. There's something about generic white girl names.
Okay. Just because they both end in Y. We'll just go with that.
One of them ends in an IE.
Anyways.
So anyway, I don't know how. I don't know how that I did that, but I won at Catan twice in a row. And the first time was an utter surprise for me. And the second game, I felt much better about it. I felt like, whoa, I'm going in all deep.
On the other hand, there was a time in the trip before this where I can't remember which game we were playing. It was the one with the pirate ships, I think.
Yeah.
Where I was playing solo. Because for reference, Danielle was playing solo against teams in Catan this time. And when we played the pirate ship game, I was playing solo against teams and won handily. And I think there's an advantage you have by playing by yourself against players that are having to play together. Because you only have to consult with yourself and be on the same page. Whereas other teams, there's a certain, to an extent, it can be both a benefit and a handicap depending on your teammate. But, it's hard to tell if there's an advantage there or not. But I feel like it can be a disadvantage just because you have to agree and take longer and be on the same page. And even if you are agreeing at any one point, you both might have a completely different plan in mind.
Yeah, I actually would have liked to have played on a team with Krista. I feel like we understand each other's play styles enough. I think we would have meshed well. But I don't know. That's a game theory for you.
Yeah.
Now I will say that what I had a kind of a forming opinion that was more solidified thanks to our board game playing. I just have a feeling that pretty much any board game that comes from a Kickstarter is going to start out as mediocre at best.
Yeah, that what was it, the cul-de-sac chaos
cul-de-sac
game.
Conquest.
It was intensely boring for big stretches.
Yeah, it was intensely boring. I think that we weren't playing the rules right. Even after whenever you have to look online and get clarification of the rules in the book.
Yeah, that's not thoroughly tested situation. There's been some okay games that have come out of Kickstarter, I think. But it's you got to really play test a lot of stuff. Kickstarter's a tricky thing to me because, it seems like everything good that comes out of a Kickstarter is delayed for more than a year past its expected release date.
Yeah.
And things that make their release date on Kickstarter aren't done.
Right. Except for I did do a Kickstarter for dice vaults, hand crafted or whatever artisan solid wood dice vaults.
Right.
And that delivered on time, and all that stuff that I bought through that was super high quality.
I think it also depends on the product. Like something like that, that's pretty straightforward. You're just making a thing, and it's a set of geometry, and it's made out of known materials, and you're not having to do anything super theoretical like figure out how to wire it, So that's literally the money for that is just going to getting the people to make the thing,
Yeah, I guess
as long as you've got skilled manufacturers. Whereas something like a game or a piece of electronics that might come out requires so much more testing to make sure it's going to be right.
And I guess that's my problem.
It's like if I come out with a Kickstarter to start manufacturing cool coffee mugs, that's pretty straightforward. I just got to manufacture the coffee mug, right? But if I come out with a Kickstarter to make, say, I have this vague idea for a very complicated board game, that requires so much, you got to put it together, assemble all the pieces and whatnot, play test it intensely to see if anything is functionally stupid, and start all over possibly and rewrite the rules and again to get it right.
Yeah.
So
No,
there's a
I
lot of
agree
testing
with
there, or
you.
like an electronic thing. There's just turns out there's a lots of kinks and bugs to work out to manufacturing electronics a lot of the time. So there's tends to be huge delays in those in Kickstarter.
See, I agree with you, but I also think that's the part of the problem here. I think that if you have a game that you want to kickstart,
It should
you
be
should
done.
you should already have your play
Yeah,
testing mostly
because
done.
making a game, when it comes right down to it, is you write a set of rules, steal a lot of pieces from all your other board games, and figure out and play test it on a board you drew on cardboard. And then when the comes for Kickstarter, you literally say, "I need money to get someone to draw me a badass artwork for and design me some pieces so we can and manufacture them." The game is complete in terms of concept, and I think that's
Right.
not happening with a few people that are they have most of the idea for a game, but they didn't really test. They tested it
They
with one or two friends, and okay, we think this could be played with six people, and they never really tried it that way.
and then that brings me to another Kickstarter game that we played.
Okay,
Um,
didn't
we,
play test
we
this at all.
yeah, we didn't play test this at all.
Yeah,
Which, honestly, okay, yes, my reaction to that was probably a little bit strong.
no, that was right.
B, I don't think that throwing cards was wrong in that game.
No, there's another game out there that's sort of similar where the rules are like constantly changing based on the cards that are played.
Are you talking about Flux?
Flux? Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess it is Flux. I do not like Flux.
But
Like,
Flux works. Okay?
probably.
Now,
The-
I have played a
Like,
lot of
I know
Flux.
it works. Like, conceptually, like, as far as I can tell, it's been thought out and tested and played. It's not fun to me.
Well, yeah, and I can understand that. Flux isn't for everybody.
Because,
But the way
just the whole, okay, in 2 minutes you're going to be playing by completely different rules. Like, half the fun of learning a game is learning the rules and then getting good at them and being able to play within them. And so
I get that.
Flux basically tips the whole model, it makes it hard to play against people you would think who have played it before. So you're like, if you've played a game quite a bit and you introduce someone new to it, you usually win because they don't know what the hell they're doing.
I
And you
really
would
enjoy
Flux would combat that.
Yeah,
And
I
it seems like
enjoy
it
the
doesn't,
aspect of the dynamic or the dynamic nature of Flux. Like you have to think on your feet. But the difference, like as a person who enjoys Flux, who hated we didn't play test this game, is that you could tell they really didn't play test it. And if they did, shame on them. Because Flux, all the cards have simple instructions that just change the effect of the board, and they're all formatted in the same way. With we didn't play test this game,
which lasted for about 4 minutes, the game we played, and it became stupid and unplayable.
right? Those cards had like a paragraph to two paragraphs on text on every card, and of course you're not going to remember.
And there were
what's
cards that
going
were
on.
different front and back, which made things even weirder.
Right. And yeah, there were like
The
these
special star
things
cards.
that were better than the other cards, but without any explanation why.
Yeah, it's like, if you point, you lose the game. Like,
And
you can't, you can put that in a game, but how do you, it becomes vaguely unplayable at that point.
well, and it was also like, there was the one card that I was reading from because it was telling me to read from it, and I wasn't showing it to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaron was like, hey, I think you're playing that card wrong because that type of card typically has this added rule to it. And I was like, no, I'm reading the card. And we had like a 2-minute discussion about that I was playing the card right because it was similar to other cards in the game. And I was just getting frustrated. The whole thing was a frustrating experience.
Yeah, it's basically like they saw Flux and were like, oh, we could make a game like that, only worse.
And then it was like, you pretty much got knocked out on your turn.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the loose interpretation of the rules, I was supposed to be skipped, even though you were skipped, or blah 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 blah. And that made me, and I was like, I don't know, none of this is clear enough for me. I just want to hurt everything in the world.
I mean, if you're going to make a card game with, what looked like a deck of about 100 cards, it should last more than 5 cards into a game.
Yeah.
Basically 2/3 of the players were out within one hand. That's not fun. I mean, sure, you can build it as a quick game, but shuffle 100 cards, deal them out, see who loses in this round. Shuffle 100 cards, deal them out, see who lost the game and who won. You're doing more shuffling than you're doing playing at that point.
And that's when I come back to Flux, right?
Right.
Flux is a game where the rules are constantly changing. Sometimes the games may only last 5 minutes, but more than not, the games last 10 to 20. And, there's a varying board. There's a way for everyone to either win or lose. And it doesn't come down to play rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, that's more or less how did not playtest this at all seemed.
I mean, there's even a card. I mean, I was referring to the card that Prairie got twice. Play rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well,
Yeah, there was a lot about that game that was very broken, and it showed.
Now, Aaron did introduce us. You weren't there. You went shopping on your adventure in Shopping Land.
I'm never doing that again.
Aaron introduced us to Clank.
Yeah, that looked interesting. I was sort of wish we'd played that again, but we ended up not having time.
Really fun game. We actually played it twice while you guys were gone.
I think you were finishing up a game and then played another one when I got just as I was getting back or something.
We were halfway through the second game when you were getting back.
Because I felt like something had changed heavily in the middle of it when I wasn't paying attention. But
the game. So that game has like a lot of build up, and then all of a sudden things get real in like one turn.
Fascinating.
So it's like a dungeon delve, right?
Okay.
You're you're delving into the dungeon to steal loot from a dragon. And as you steal more from the dragon gets more and more pissed off. And if you're at a certain point in the game and the dragon kills you all, if you're not above ground, you get no points.
So you've got to get back out.
Yeah, so you have to get back out in like 3 turns once it reaches that point of stress. So it's like, oh god, cards.
Fascinating. That sounds like an interesting game.
Great game. I think Krista and I will probably end up buying it.
It sounds like a good one.
So yeah. I have to say, I love board games. I even enjoy trying bad board games.
I remember playing a board game once that, like, we checked the rules a dozen times, at least, and as far as we could tell, the rules stated that you couldn't pass another player on the board. Which means whoever got to roll first and go first won the game.
What?
I don't know. I can't remember what game it was, but like, strictly in terms, like if you roll a 6, but someone is 5 places ahead of you, you can move up to them and no farther. Which basically translates they're going to get to go again before you do, and it was so strange.
So, what's the point of
like, I'm sure we were misinterpreting the rules somehow, or they were just very badly written, but, like, that right there is triple check your your instructions, people. Make sure you don't leave any weird ambiguity like that in there. If you're making a game, make sure everyone can win. It's possible for every player to win.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't create a starting condition where only one player will win.
I agree with you 100%. What was your favorite game of the weekend?
Favorite game of the weekend?
Yeah.
I'd have to say the Carcassonne, actually. I think I probably enjoyed the most.
Catan?
Catan, sorry. Yeah, Catan, or I kind of do like, I'm getting to where I enjoy the French Revolution game.
Guillotine? Oh, Guillotine's a lot of fun.
Guillotine's a lot of fun. I hadn't played it a lot of times, but it's an entertaining game.
Yeah,
because it's not horribly complicated, but it's got enough complexity that it makes it fun.
Yeah, for me, Guillotine is in that like perfect place of either being a great first of the night game, or first of the board gaming marathon game because the rules are easy. The objectives easy enough, but it's also complex enough to get people into that. But it
Hmm.
also fills that role of the like late night end of the night game
Yeah, and it's
for
got
the same reasons.
and where it's a card gathering and attack type game, it's
Mm-hmm.
got just enough complexity, but enough simplicity for introducing people to that type of game. I think
Yeah.
that one or the other one. I think it was one of the first ones we played with the fluffy bunny and the ogres and things. What one was that?
Dragonwood.
Dragonwood. Same thing. Dragonwood and Guillotine. Right there at like the bottom end of attack and collect card games for
Right.
in levels of complexity. At least in my experience, I'm sure there's simpler ones that are out there, but those are good ones for introducing people to that type of game. I think
I
and
you
getting the
know
core concepts in your head.
I Dragonwood is okay in my opinion. Krista really likes it. Everyone in the group likes it a lot. For myself, and this kind of goes to kind of something that you were saying earlier. The actual need of like how you play that game is probably a little bit too simple for me.
Yeah, which reinforces what I just said. It's a good opening game to learn that kind of game with,
Right.
but that's going to be a stepping stone where after you've gotten all those concepts solid in your head and have played more complex, attack and collect card games, it's not going to be as much fun after that.
Yeah, for me, I think of it as one of the more complex games, like because I just come into like a card gathering, use those cards to attack. I think of those games in a more complicated way. So
Yeah,
I try to play Dragonwood like that, and that's why I end up with next to no points.
yeah. I'm trying to think. There's a corollary here that I'm thinking of and can't place right now. Where for you, what Dragonwood is like a nerfed version of something else.
It's kind
Hey,
of
here
well,
you go. This is totally the wrong one, but it's like if you've played Minecraft on the PC and then decide to play the mobile version.
oh man.
Everything's missing. You're like, I can't do this and this and this, and you're expecting one thing and getting something else.
Uh huh. You are not wrong.
You know,
So I think one of the gems that we played over the weekend, and probably because it's like the only cooperative game that I ever truly 100% enjoy, and that's Hanabi,
Hanabi, the firework game.
the firework game. And we did better this time than we did last time we played it.
I can't remember how we did last time, but you
We
keep the
scored.
logs.
We scored a 13 in our first attempt, a a 19 in our second attempt last year, and this year when we played it, we scored a 20.
Ooh, we are getting progressively better.
But Hanabi is another one of those games that brings everyone together,
Mm-hmm.
gets people into kind of the gaming mindset, and
And
it's
it's
also
also go ahead.
a cooperative game where you don't want to kill someone at the end, like let's say Lost Desert or the Sinking Islands game,
I haven't
or
played those, but I could see how a lot of co-op games could be maddening.
oh man, Pandemic is like one of the worst games ever. It basically the way those games work is that everyone has like a character that they're playing and they have special abilities. And then if you have one or two alphas in the group, everyone has a different way of how they feel they should play.
Yeah.
And then everyone just wants to punch each other or punch the game at the end of it.
Right.
In fact, I think Pandemic is the game that Will Wheaton actually punched on tabletop when they lost.
Sounds about right.
Like he punched the box.
Huh. Yeah, remind me never to play that one.
Oh, it's terrible. I wouldn't play it with you.
So, thank you for that. Yeah. Board games are, there's a few board games I just flat out don't like. Like, for some reason, and I can't really fully explain it, I really do not like Apples to Apples. And I know a lot of people that love it. I just don't enjoy it.
Do you like Cards Against?
I have never actually played it. I'm amused by funny pictures I see from the internet about with it, but I get the feeling that it probably loses its novelty after about one or two playthroughs.
See, I like apples to apples. Apples to apples to me is a fun like get to know somebody game.
It could be that I'm
Where
playing it with the wrong crowd because I don't
no,
think I've ever played it with our group, but
but
playing it
you
with my
played.
parents and sister, it's probably not as much fun because I know them so well.
But I hate Cards Against Humanity. Like
I've heard you say that before.
I honestly feel like Cards Against Humanity is the excuse for people to be horrible human beings.
Yeah, more or less.
But that being said, a game with a similar mechanic that I just adore and fawn over is Dixit.
Hmm.
That's the picture matching game.
Don't
Have you
remember
never
that one.
played? Oh man,
It sounds familiar, but I don't think maybe
Krista,
we've played it once.
Krista and I need to bring it next time. It's an amazing game. It's so pretty. It's sure pretty, so pretty. It's also I don't know. I like games that allow people to express themselves in a beautiful way.
I
And
think I
Dixit,
have played Dixit once.
yeah, it's where like everyone chooses an image, and then everyone tries to pick the image of the person whose turn it is.
Yeah, I have played that.
I love that game.
Hmm.
So nice, so nice. What's your least favorite board game that you have ever played?
Candyland.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, and I love
Of course, that's
Candyland
the
as a
cliche
kid.
answer. I'm thinking there's been another board game that I really hated, but I can't remember what it was. I don't know if I've ever had fun playing a game of Risk, but that doesn't necessarily mean I don't like the game.
I love Risk. I love classic Risk. I think it gets a bad rap. I think that I think I think that Risk games can run long.
I
And I
think
think
on the newer games of Risk, they changed it so you can't blockade and drag out a game in Australia at the end.
they did change. Well, they changed a lot about the rules of Risk. Like I actually don't much care for modern Risk. I think they turned it too video game-ish.
Hmm.
It's a little bit too much like Rocket Tag. Um, that being said, I think that there is I don't know. I like the strategy of Risk.
Yeah.
I like it. I think what people need to be okay with in a game of Risk is, getting to a point where everyone just goes, you know what? We've played enough.
Yeah. Sort of like a game of Monopoly. Eventually,
Yeah.
you're just like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
You know what makes Monopoly a lot more playable, though?
What?
Is the newer ones that use the cards instead of paper money.
I don't know
It's
what you mean.
electronic Monopoly. Basically, it uses like a debit card, and there's this little thing you pass around just and punch in the numbers to do buys and sells. The
Oh,
bank is electronic, and you put your card in, do the thing, and if you're selling something to someone, you put your card in, then they put their card in, and it does the transfers, and it keeps track of it off of these cards.
oh,
Right?
that's nice.
And so you don't have it. The transactions are much quicker, and you don't have to have someone stuck being the banker.
That sounds nice.
It really improves the playability of Monopoly because one, you don't have to worry about losing all your Monopoly money under the couch eventually, and it speeds it up, which is helpful.
Sounds good.
It really does improve the playability of the game.
Well, I think my least favorite game I've ever played or have that I will never play again is actually the game of life.
Yeah, life is. It's been so long since I played that.
That game is just I don't know. I feel like that game has gotten more depressing as I get older.
It really kind of is. Because when you get stuck in the first three squares because you never can roll enough to get out of college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, let's say this real quick because we've been gabbing a while. What's your favorite game?
Favorite game?
Yeah, that you've ever played.
Hmm.
For me, and we were just talking about it. It's Risk. I've
It's Risk.
always loved that game. That game, for my family, that's something that my family has always played. Um, I can go into stories about Risk later, but it's really close to my heart. I've played probably more games of Risk than I've played any other board game ever. And I just love that game. I love it in its format. I love in its like little plastic pieces. It's just good for me.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I haven't played it since 5 years. I haven't played it in 5 years because no one will play Risk with me.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite games, which I'm not sure if you've
Like
played,
8
maybe you
years.
have, is Telestrations.
I played Telestrations once.
I really enjoy Telestrations because and for those of you that have never played it, Telestrations is if you combine Pictionary with the telephone game.
Yeah.
And I generally have played it with crowds of people that basically can't draw, and it becomes hysterical. It's really funny. I think it would be fun also with a group of people that are decent at drawing, but and the way we always play it is, I don't know if it's in the rule book or not, but once we finish and like you get your board back, is like you hold it up and you flip through the pages and describe what's happening as the thing goes, and so it lets you make little jokes about the artwork, and somehow fried eggs suddenly became the trip to the moon type things, and it generally is always a lot of fun every time I've played it.
Yeah, I am not good at drawing games.
See, and I think one of the appeals of Telestrations is there's not really a winner or a loser. It's just you're still having fun, which is rare. I'm kind of normally against, okay, there should be a winner and a loser for these things, but Telestrations is like it's all just for a laugh, and you get to have a good time, looking at the funny pictures everyone draws.
Mm-hmm.
In a weird rule based system. I think that's one of my favorite games these days to play with groups, even though it's not so much a board game. For like just for funness, for like actual board games that I really enjoy though. I don't know. These days, I'd probably have to say that Catan might be my new favorite board game for the moment.
I do love Catan, and we have Star Trek Catan
Mm-hmm.
that uses helper cards, and to me that just adds a whole nother level of enjoyment for Catan. Matter of fact, that first game, I kept on. Why I was surprised I won is because I kept on making decisions as if I had a helper card.
Ah, fancy.
And so I thought,
Yeah, that's like the thing is these days, because of just my social group and whatnot, the times I get to play board games are generally at that gathering and around Christmas and Thanksgiving with my family. So I don't get to play a lot of board games. So picking out a favorite is tricky. But I really did enjoy Catan and would be happy to play it again.
nice. So, Jake, tell me,
Hmm.
how jaded are you?
Right now,
Yeah, right now, this moment.
like a 3, maybe a 4.
I'm at a 3. Overall, the weekend was great. I love seeing you guys, and we spent the past like half hour, 40 minutes talking about board games.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
For sure.
So do you have a quote for today?
I do, but I want to do it second.
Okay, well, I'm going to trot out John Lennon's quote again because board games pretty much seem like this. It's, time you enjoy wasting was not wasted.
Nice, good quote. I'm going to quote Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton. Anyways.
Will Wheaton
Not going
from
to start that
Tabletop.
again.
Play more games.
Play more games. That sounds right.
Yeah, play more games. So all that being said, if you've enjoyed hearing what you've heard, you can follow us on Twitter at Proteus Podcast. You can email us at proteuspodcast@gmail.com. And you can, of course, subscribe to us also at like Podbean, iTunes, or Google Play, wherever.
Stitcher. Anywhere fine
Stitcher.
podcasts are purveyed.
True dat.
All that being said, I've been Jacob.
And I'm still Danielle.
And we have been the Proteus Podcast. Good night, everyone.